Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Wendy. I'm just trying to get my camera set here. And you are watching Wendy Makes Art. Tonight is Art Tip Tuesday, and we are going to learn all about greens, mixing greens, and I've got a really great exercise to practice. So while everybody is waiting to jump on, I know that last weekend I taught a class on color mixing. It was called Color Confidence, and we ran through a lot of exercises in a short amount of time, and I want to be able to have everybody who was studying with me follow through on this green exercise and really see what they can do. Hey, I'm so glad you made it. That's fantastic. Hi, Andreas. Glad to see you here. Any notes you want to send me? Sometimes I'm a little late responding, so I'm pretty terrible about it. I'll look up and catch notes, but super excited that you're able to be here tonight. I'll give you guys a rundown of what supplies I have on hand. I just grabbed a couple brushes, nothing major. I like a flat on these little square color tests, so I'll do most of it with this flat. And as Andreas knows, in class we worked with black, cobalt, and lemon, and we mixed each. I'll cover this part up and show you guys. We mixed each, a little bit of black, a little more black, until it got as dark as I had room for. And then the same over here, this shows you lemon and cobalt, how they mix. And then we took some red and added a little red to each mix, and you'll see how it calms down or mutes the green by adding the complement. So we're gonna do that, only I want to expand on it a lot more and show you guys a lot more with different colors and different blues. So I pulled out a whole bunch of different, we had ultramarine blue here. I've got a cobalt blue here. I'm going to show you what it looks like with permanent yellow deep in addition to the lemon. And I've got this peacock blue, and then I went in and pulled something close to this cobalt teal in this Shinhan line. This one's cobalt green pale. So I kind of just pulled some different colors. So we're going to go through this today, and then at the end, one of the artists in the class recommended Shadow Violet by Daniel Smith and said, I love to use Shadow Violet in all my shadows. And I said, really, that's interesting, and I wanted to see what the pigments are. So we are going to take this and look at it and swatch it, and then I'm going to show you what colors it make. This color, and we're going to make it, and then we're going to see how we can adjust the amounts to change this color up and show you what you would be able to get if you had those three and varied it. So I think that would be a really fun exercise to go through. So we're going to do that probably in the last 20 minutes of class. I'm going to grab, I have a bunch of paper and just use some swatch sheets that I've got to show you some of these exercises before we paint this. And we are going to mix these up and paint them and see how well we can match them. So that is coming. But for right now, I want to grab these. And I also have on here, if you guys aren't familiar with these, I have a paper palette, and this is really nice. These tear-off palettes are great to even use with gouache and watercolor. You can play with them with this. So I brought one of these. If lamp black is all you have, go ahead and use it. I think it is a cool black. I'm looking to see if I have a lamp black close by. I don't. I have jet black. I've got ivory black. I don't think I have a lamp black. But go ahead and see how it mixes, and you're just going to have to color test it to see how it mixes. So just always use what you have first to see what you can get, because then you're going to know it really well. Don't feel like you have to run out and buy every color out there. Just see what you have, get to know them, and learn to use them and mix them. Okay? So I'm going to start with, to give everybody some time to get on here, I'm going to start with how far we got in class, and then we're going to keep adding on to it and see what we can get. So the first thing we're going to do is take canned lemon yellow, and I'm just going to put it right here on the corner of this. And grab a little water so it's softer. Now gouache will act a lot like watercolor, and you can thin it down, and it's really, really thin. And you can start your paintings with that, and then you might like to thicken it up to more of a house paint consistency, or just a really nice thick consistency, and it will feel more like oil paint. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, and you can work it back and forth with thin washes first, add the thick on later. So mine is fairly thick with what I put on here, and I'm just mushing it out to soften it. And then I'm going to put some way over here. Okay, and let's go ahead and we're going to do yellow with a bunch of different colors. So we're just going to do this test, and I'm going to pick 4. Okay, now you could do this with as many different blues as you want to try it. And I'm going to try to remember what I had on here. So this is canned lemon yellow lemon. Oh, this is too floppy. Canned lemon yellow. And I'll just abbreviate CYL. I'll probably have to put more than this on this palette, but for now, we'll work with that. Now, at the bottom, I'm going to pick 3 blues, and I'm going to try, I think you guys all had, you might have had ultramarine in class, and that's a pretty standard color. So let's go with ultramarine, cobalt, green pale, and peacock blue. The cobalt green pale is probably going to be a little bit close to cobalt teal, only more opaque. So I think it looks like it has a little bit of white in it. Oh, I can pick 4. I have 4. Oh, we're going to do black. That's why. So I'm just going to put this right on my palette. It is quite a bit different from what you have in class, but go ahead and, if for those of you who were in class and have a sample of the cobalt teal, Andreas, if you want to go ahead and, if you still have that color, practice mixing your yellow with it. Take a chance and see how that looks. Okay, this one is pretty dried out. Let's see if I can get anything out of it. Ooh, it's really super thick, but that's okay. I'm just going to dig a chunk out and stick the toothpick right on there and work around it. This is an older tube that I've had for a long time of this Holbein gouache. And if your gouache ever dries up in tubes, you can peel it open. I haven't gotten a mole yet, but I want to try like mixing it to a loose format and retubing it. Or you can use it just like a pan, like mashing it enough to smash in some pans. I could do that so that you don't lose all that pigment. And I'm just gonna set that peacock blue there. Ultramarine right here. I just made a mess of that tube. And then black, and this one I have in M gram. So I've got a bunch of different brands. So there's my 4. And then just like I did with the yellow, I'm going to come in here and put the colors down. So here is my, ooh, I have a hair, blue. Let's make sure you guys can see it. Now this will probably look, it looks way darker on camera than it is in real life. Just a heads up on that. Check this peacock blue out. See if you guys can kind of see. You can kind of see if I thin it down. That's beautiful. That is a Holbein gouache. Oh, and check out my water. Do you see that? I'll put it here so you can kind of see it change. It's kind of fun. And I'm going to give you guys the names and write them right on here. So give me a sec. I strongly recommend this practice of writing the names of your colors when you're doing these color tests, because you will never remember later. Okay. And so this one is ivory black. This one is cobalt green pale. This one is peacock blue. And now this one, this last one, is ultramarine. Now this exercise is really cool. We've got those all laid out, and I'm going to run through this with this lemon and show you what I do when I make these color tests. And I see your Bob Ross and some kind of a rainbow Lebowski. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, loosen up this yellow a little bit, and we're starting with the ultramarine. So I'm bringing this out here, and I can even make, this is a fun way to do it because you'll have puddles. So if I mash up a big long row like this, Andres, now what I can do is mix a little bit of the ultramarine blue here. Now I want a little more in there. So I want to be able to see the difference. Well, that's a little darker. Okay, not much. Now this one needs to be darker yet, so that's probably too dark. So if it jumps too dark, I can pull some of this yellow across. Now I've got a darker pile. Are you able to see that? Annie C, hi, welcome. So Andreas, I'm not sure if you see that where I have a little bit and then a little more and a little more and a little more. I can work in these pools, which is a lot of fun. Now let's make it even darker. Oh, it's pretty close. I think it needs a little bit more. So that's a little darker. And then that. And now let's do something interesting. Let's take what we have and basically we're just using a little bit what's left over in the brush to mix the next dark color. Pretty close to that one. But this one, I still have a little bit on the brush. I had to add quite a bit of blue to get it really dark. Okay? So do you see that where it goes from the cad yellow all the way to the blue? And look how many different greens we got. Now you can adjust them and, quote, bend them a little bit by adding the complement of green, meaning red. And any red you add to it, the kind of red matters. It will change it completely depending on what red you add. So for this one, I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to pick a true red. It's a permanent scarlet. And we're going to just note what it is. I may not have gotten myself enough out of the tube. No, not really. Okay. I probably still need more. Okay, and then I'm just going to put it in down here so you can kind of see that red. Okay? And now I'm going to take it, and I only need a little tiny bit. So I want to make sure most of this is rubbed off my brush because it won't take much. Did you see that? It actually looks like yellow ochre. So there it is in my first tab. And the amount you add, of course, is going to vary, is going to adjust every color a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if I add more of it, it'll make it more of a brown versus an earthy green. I could have made this a lot different with less red. So I'm using the puddles that I already created, and I'm just going down the line and adding a little bit of red in each puddle. And you can see how it just ever slightly, depending on how much red you put in there, adjust each of these colors. And I'll hold this up so you can see it up close here in a second. Kind of fake it over here. This one's really cool. It's almost like a oh, I don't know, it's just really neat because it brings a little bit of that purple in there. So all of these colors we just mixed using these three in the middle. And I want to write down permanent scarlet on this. Badly. I wrote it badly, guys. Okay, neat, right? So let's take it and let's do the same thing, only we're going to do it with the peacock next. So I'm going to turn this palette around right here. So, and the peacock is the second one up right here. And we're just going to make a new thing of yellow. And give me 1 sec. I'm going to wash this water out. Okay, water's washed out. I need a new paper towel. And brush is clean. So same thing, I'm gonna add clean water to this. And I'm just going to spread this all the way down here. Okay? Now, let's add a little bit of this peacock blue. And look how bright this is gonna be. This is so cool. It's so bright. Look how earthy. Can you see the difference between this using the peacock blue and this one with ultramarine? Ultramarine has a little tiny bit of red in it, so it looks like I've already dirtied it with red. It's complement, but this one isn't. It's just ultramarine and cad yellow versus this peacock blue and the cad yellow lemon looks like this fabulous bright blue. So now we're going to do the same thing. Just add a little more of it in every step. See if I can get that back to where it was. It was darker. And then this one needs to be darker. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. I need a little more water to dissolve this color. All right, now we're getting there. And then I think on this next one, what I'm gonna do is get a whole bunch of the blue. Not quite, I might have to do it up here. Like right on there. And I still feel like I could get it even darker. Like more blue. Maybe not, I might have too much green on my, or yellow on my brush. Okay, so we've got a whole different set with that one. Same thing. So if I take the Permanent Scarlet, add that up there, rinse my brush out, and now I'm going to add just a little bit. And again, a very, quote, yellow ochre, but it even is very close to this second one. So those are starting to look like I could mix something close. Let's try the next one. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see the difference. Oh, and let's put a big marker line between these so you know that they're separated. It's a wiggly marker. Sorry about that. And we're going to do that over here too. And right here. Okay, so you can see the difference in these greens. Keep in mind, and I didn't mark my scarlet. I need to mark my scarlet down here. Some of these get very close, but they look different just slightly. So this one looks a little bluer than this one. This one looks like a more evergreen green when I'm looking at it from the side here than this one, which is a really dark teal. And that was mixed with the ultramarine blue. Some of them you can go through and go, wow, like this and this I think are so close that you could get away with it. These two also. And some of these other ones down here, these two. So it depends on what you're doing with it that gets some similar results. Let's see what happens with the cobalt pale green. Okay. So same thing. I need clean water, guys. And I'm going to do the same old thing. I'm taking a whole row of cadmium yellow lemon right there at the top. And I'm going to mash it down. There. And I probably will save some of that one. Okay, so let's add a little tiny bit of the cobalt pale green and see what we get. It's an even lighter May, I call it a May green. Check this out, so pretty. And in each one of these circles, I'm just adding more of the cobalt green pale in the mix. You like my yellow fingerprint? I've got a yellow fingerprint. Welcome everybody. If you're new watching tonight, thank you guys so much for tuning in. These color studies can get a bit monotonous, but it will really help you in your art practice. Those all look very much the same. I don't know that I changed it at all. Barely. And I could probably come over here and make one that's maybe a little close, a little bit, yeah. So this one really wants to live in this range. Once I mix yellow with it, was hard to get a big variation of color with the cobalt green pale. Now let's take it and do the same thing. Let's add just a touch of the scarlet, and I may need to get some more. Let's do this. I want to remember that we added scarlet. I'll put it here on this one. Let's get some new scarlet. I mean, that's a color, right? I mean, it is kapow. So little goes a long way. I'm going to dab it and then add it. so it doesn't take it over completely. It still did. Now I'm going to mix it in with this one. Ooh, that was way too red. So it kind of ruined that whole color. I'm going to try to get it back there with a fresh dot of yellow and green. Try to match what I had. And then add a little bit of that. That's better. Okay. And I think I'm just going to skip down to this side over here. And nope, I added too much. So we're just going to put this here. It gets almost purpley red. And let me kind of show you guys where we are on that. So you'll notice when we add red to it, the other thing is I think that these colors to any blue end up slightly different, but they're pretty similar. So if you're looking for brights like this, the blue matters depending on how kapow you need it. I really only think you need one warm and one cool blue to mix all your greens though, because these are so similar to me. Like these are practically the same thing. Look at that one and that one with this color. So I think anything in this cobalt teal, turquoise, peacock blue, cobalt green pale, anything in that line will get you enough of a variation of a green, and then use something along the line of an ultramarine or a cobalt to get your warmer greens. So let's try black. I'm gonna rinse my brush, and because it's black, I'm not gonna worry too much about getting clean water. So we're still gonna have to do that when we go to paint this out. So, big long sample. And we added black, just like that. Again, look how close this one and ultramarine blue and the cad yellow are. They're not that much different. This is a little earthier or deep, but they're pretty close. All right. So just a little darker. Darker. Those are getting pretty close. Need more black, less yellow. And then just a little bit of yellow with a lot of black. And I'm just mixing it over on this other corner up here. Okay. Rinse my brush. Same thing. We are adding permanent scarlet. This is a Turner paint. I have all different brands. You'll see I'm not loyal. I love testing paint, seeing what each brand does, how the colors differ. Love it all. Okay, I took too much out. And here we go. There's that one. I did a little bit of mixing just now. You saw me mix on the paper because I didn't have it mixed in well enough. Again, keep in mind, when I'm adding this red, I could have all kinds of different variations within each of these. So for example, that one I just did, if I put way more red in there, it looks like a beautiful, almost a burnt sienna. And then that, okay? So look at all those different greens and all those different colors we got. Pretty neat. It's a whole bunch. There's a cobalt to give you the variation on cobalt. And look at that. When you use cobalt or ultramarine, look how close they are, guys. Looking right, I'll show you where I'm looking. Right in through here, look, this and this one, this and this one. This one matches this one almost exactly. And yet it's ultramarine versus cobalt. Very close. Same in these peacock blue versus green pale. And that's why I say you only need one warm and one cool, because these mixes will be very close to what you're doing. So with that, what we're gonna do is, here's our chart. We're gonna leave all these charts out. Let me set these here. Here's a chart, here's a chart, here's a chart. Make sure you guys can see these. This is what we're getting to, hopefully, eventually. And I'm just gonna grab a board of watercolor paper. And this is what we're working from. So I took this photo in Pacific Grove, California, and when I took it, I did not realize, I knew it was valuable because of so many greens being in the image. I just didn't realize how valuable this photo was. This is such a great reference. So anytime you go out to a garden, it could be the Botanic Gardens or something like that, and you want to practice your green, take a shot with your camera, because you never know what kind of a great reference tool that will turn into. And I just thought this was a fantastic reference. Now we will add some white on our palette now. We did not in any of these color mixes, but when you get down into some of this stuff, they are not a true full pigment color. They have a little bit of white in them. So I want you guys to be able to see that. Now, if you make a reference like this, here's the beauty of this reference. I can take this photo and I can fold it so I can just see one color. And let's look for this bushy yellow kind of color, right? So I'm gonna go through my color chart, and I want to see kind of, it falls really nice with cadmium yellow and just a little tiny bit of black with some red in it. It's not really any of the pure ones. It's got to have a little bit of red in that. Can you guys see that? Let me show you up close. So this corner piece right here, and then the bright yellow on my picture, I have to have even less of that mix, but that is very close to what we want for our bushes. So we could start there. And when you do one of these, it does not have to be perfect. This does not have to look exactly like the photo. You can do this. Let me just show you. I'm going to mix a little more of it because I know I need a lot. So I'm stealing yellow. I'm putting it up in this mix up here that I had. And this was yellow with a tiny bit of black. And I might as well just not be stingy and put some color out. So I'm going to grab this palette and put some color on there. So I'm going to grab some of that, put that in there. And because I know this is close, it'll absorb some of it. I'm gonna quote, knock it back. And now I'm gonna see how close I've gotten. I think it needs just a tiny more red. So look, it's barely different. You guys probably can't even see the difference in that. But I can just paint some general ideas of where these are and not have to even worry about being real exact. I'm just going to come in here and boom, I did not mix enough of it. Pretty close. So I kind of made it work. So these little guys, this, and this, I put in here. Now let's take a look at our color chart. Throw this back here. And let's look at these little bushes right in here. Okay. So I'm going to fold this down so the yellow doesn't mess with me too much. And let's see what we've got. Look at that, my cyan yellow and ivory black. I can get that with the mix too. So all we have to do, we're going to use the same puddles. And I'm going to add some more ivory black to it. And that's not right, so let's go back a little bit. And then let's add a little bit of this red and see what we've got. So this little bush lives in here. Now that's pretty close, so I don't think it's quite right yet. I'm going to add a little more black and a little bit more red. And we're going to see how that looks. So if I hold this color up to that, it's pretty close. This green that is right in between these two. There's a little bit of bush down in here. And then up in this one, there's like a mound right through there that is a lot like it. And the same color, there's a little bit of it up here. So I can just throw that on right in there, okay? So I'm building all of these shapes with this. This gets really dark. Now I know the camera adds a lot more darkness than there actually is, but let's see how close we can get if we start with black and add a little yellow into it. And what we get as this bush turns, meaning it's rounded, I can mix the in-betweens, and that will give it more of a sense of turning. And then in that deep shadow area, it's got a little bit of green in there, but not much. A lot more black than green. Okay. This will take you time, boy, you'll learn a lot while you do it. So there. And then I've got to decide, you know, do I go into black and go ahead and let this shadow piece, I'm really looking just at shapes. So there's a shape that kind of cuts down here. That's all of this, right? And underneath these guys. And then above this little bush. So halfway down this bush, I've got one behind it. And I've got a lot of shadow going on back behind it. Now this green is a little different from this one. It's got more of a red in it. So let's take a look at our colors and fold it. Again, we can fold it. And let's see what we can close in on. If I were to guess, it's somewhere in between these two with ultramarine blue. I could get away with it with the black, but I like the ultramarine blue a lot. And some red. It's got to have some red. It doesn't work over here. These are too bright. It's got to have a little bit of that red in the mix. So we're going to take all the way over here our ultramarine blue mix, which I'm pretty sure we started with. And let's see if I can get something with some red and mix enough color. So I need ultramarine blue, I need some red, I need more red, still some red from over here, because that's what really gives it that earthy color. And it goes right in here. Okay, now this one isn't looking as bright green as it should. So we can change that and brighten it up. We can go back into, we can switch our greens. That's one way to do it. So I could take this green and go, okay, well, let's just use some of this green. That's not right. It's too bright. So already I know it's got to have that red in it. But that did help lighten up some of that color to here. It's just a little too much. I can let that dry and knock it down. I could blend into it and knock it down. So I can come in here. I have a little too much red in there now. I'm going to leave it while we're working on this. Let's take a look at these guys back in here. Okay, so this green back here, if I look at these, I like the peacock blue, only I think it needs a little more red, and it might need a tiny bit of white. The ultramarine black, again, I think that would work with enough red in it. So I can drop back to the black, ultramarine black. And mix a really dark green. So you guys can see what I'm looking at. It still needs to be green, but it's not black. And then I'm going to add some red. And then I have some white on this plate without putting white in, so I can pick just a little bit up. And I'm just going to dull it down a hair. Now I don't think that's quite right. If I hold it up, it's not dark enough. So I'm adding more black. And let me see how that looks. I don't think it's red enough. This bush has to stand out in front of it, and we can always lighten it more. But this bush comes up and across and then down like that with this shadow. Now I'm looking at it and I really have to look and say, what color does it have more of? Does it have a little more blue in there? Because I could mix that then and try it. Let's try it with ultramarine blue. And this is where you start to really get into mixing. I can see the difference in that already. And then the shape comes up here, kind of juts down in. There's a shadow in there. And then we put that there. Now the top of it is a lighter version of that. So let's see kind of what we've got. Probably not that pale. I think there's a little more color in it than I gave it. I also painted it wrong and made it too thick. But remember, we are trying to learn greens and practice. So this isn't about making the painting perfect. Let's work on our greens, okay? Now, this needs to stand out a little more. So it has to be a green that, if I go back into this black, I see red in it. And now I'm looking and I'm just saying, what do I see? I don't have to, once you get the hang of this, you'll be able to say, okay, there, that's better. That is a lot better. This one still needs to come forward a little more. How does this look in here? Not bad. That's this little piece. And then back in here, I can even darken it up a little. I've got a bush right in here. Okay. I've got quite the shadow going on back in here. So I might want a little bit of green, but mostly black. Maybe even a little bit of, no, blue. It's more blue than red. Okay. So in here, I'm carving these shapes out. I know that this comes in here a little bit. That is going to need down here darkness. You can start to see the bushes. Now look how bright this one is right in here. It's really bright. And if I were to hold the paper, let's see how bright it is. Not as bright as I thought. Now I like the cobalt green with a little bit of the cyan yellow. So that one is, let's see. I think I did that one third. Blue, 2, 3. Be this right here. Okay. I don't quite have enough of the cobalt in that. Let's see how that looks. I think it's going to be way, way crazy bright. But let's put it in there first. Yeah, too bright. So let's knock it down with a little red. And when I say knock it down, I mean I'm putting that red in there, and then it helps make it less vibrant and not so saturated of color. It still has a lot of pigment in there, but it doesn't make it as insanely bright where it doesn't look like a real color. Okay, and then that one actually goes more like this to the shadows. And they get darker than that. So I'm going to pull some blue. And then I just mixed like an earthy green for this little bush right there. And then we've got some shadow stuff going back there behind it. Okay. Same with yellow with a little bit of black. Adjust that a little bit. And a little bit of red. I forgot my red. So all of a sudden I knew right away, as soon as I put it down, I was like, something's not right. It was missing the red. So I went back in there and you can see the difference where I kind of messed with it a little. See if I can get that right. Just mix it in here. That's better. So just put some thicker paint on. Oof. Now I really screwed it up. Okay. Okay, and then we've got big bushes in back. So if we take a look at these guys, let's fold this again. Not quite. I almost feel like it's gonna be the ultramarine. I'm gonna have a little more red in that mix. So I'm gonna come over here and use this mix down here and more ultramarine and a whole bunch of red. Right like that. Not quite right yet. And let's take a look when we put it behind here. All right. Annie C, thanks for watching and hanging out for the evening. I think the plants are coming back. We had a really bad hailstorm on Saturday night. If any of you guys are wondering what Annie C is talking about. And it was like little mini samurai swords just chopped our plants up to pieces. It was really sad. I take a bunch of this blue, a bunch of this red. Do the side of the hedge right there. And then let's see, let's mix that top part and see what we get. It's not the right color. That's closer. It's gotta have red in there. So if I compare that to the top part, still needs a little brighter on the top. Okay, so let's just do a little more yellow. I'm just gonna go over here and steal some color and see what happens when I kind of put that in on the top. I hope this is making sense for all of you. Is it starting to come together? Yeah, Fruit Ninja Massacre pieces of perennials everywhere. It was really sad. When I drove through the backside of the mountain, it had like a foot of hail in the median. Like it's snow, but it was hail. And then the earth was so warm that everything was like a fog. So it looked like a sci-fi movie where the earth was covered with this mist wherever you were driving on the highway from the heat from the cars and the road being warm. And in the median, it was full of tons of all the little hail that looked just like snow. It was nuts. Okay, so we've got this little creamy kind of color, which we can get with yellow. Basically, we've made all these ochres, right? So we can take, we need more yellow. You will use a lot of yellow in these tests. So I'm going to take some yellow. I'm going to make a kind of an orangey kind of color. I can add a little bit of green, dull it down a little bit, and then find white. I've made a mess of my white, so hold on. Just clean this out. All I'm doing is wetting my palette so I can get some white without making a mess of my color. It needs a little more pink. It's not a lot on here, but there's this little bushy thing, and I didn't mix enough. So now I'm going to get a bunch and a bunch and a bunch and just make it thicker and more white. Pinker. Throw these in here, and I'm just throwing some little marks to hint at it right in that little section, okay? And already you can see we have slipped away into a whole hour. Now, I did mention that I wanted to explore shadow gray, and let me know, guys, those of you who are still on Andreas, I hope this was helpful to get you closer. I know we didn't finish it, but it should give you a better feel for how to put this piece together and practice with mixing your greens. So I really hope that that was fun. I am gonna, real quick, I'm gonna stay on a little longer, and I wanted to play with this shadow violet and kind of show you guys something neat that'll show you why they call this a convenience color and how it is mixed, okay? We'll learn just really quick a little bit about pigment numbers and another fun exercise. I'm gonna set this stuff up here. I have this over here, and we're gonna move all of these with the exception of the secret ingredients, which I'm gonna sit back there so you don't know right away what they are. Okay, and fold that up. That was the palette sheets, as you saw, Aren't they fun? Like, they really make it easy for you to mix a bunch of colors and play with that in your watercolor and gouache. So I recommend you try it if you get a chance. Let me get clean water. Take me a second. Okay, clean water, piece of paper, and just lay this out here. Let's start with Shadow Violet. This is a color made by Daniel Smith. I'll write it up here. Shadow Violet. Now, I had poured some out in a palette and was playing in my sketchbook last night, so all I have to do is spray it with a little water. I let it dry. And that's reconstituting it, meaning re-wetting it or softening it. And if you have pans of dried watercolor, that's all it is. I'm gonna rub my brush against it now, get a bunch of that lifted up. And let me show you what this Shadow Violet looks like. So that's it thick. I'll add a bunch of water so you can kind of see as it dries out what happens with it. So I took a look at this color. Beautiful, right? Gorgeous. Great shadow color. And I said, well, what's in it? So on the back of any color that you get, there is, my camera's probably not going to focus on that, pigment information. So this will tell me, and in this case, they told me exactly what the mixes were. I did not even have to go look up the pigment numbers to find out what Daniel Smith color it was. They already told me. They said, you ready for this? And you may would have not have ever guessed that these colors would have made this. This watercolor is made with Peril Orange, this one right here, and it is PO 73 or 79, I'm not sure. Let's see if I can read it on this one. My glasses aren't good enough. 73, I think. Peril Orange. And, you ready? Viridian. And this one is Ultramarine Blue. Now, I have French Ultramarine. I don't have Daniel Smith Ultramarine Blue, so we're going to try to mix this with these three. So Shadow Violet, and it granulates. I can already see it granulating. Is made with, oof, I just made a big mess and put way more than I needed on there. Let me pull some of this into a palette. That is a huge waste of color. Okay. So, Ultramarine Blue, Peril Orange, Viridian. And I'm going to write these on so you can see that too. And I was kind of lucky that I was able to have those colors. I couldn't believe it. So, Ultramarine Blue, PYRROL, Orange, and Viridian. Okay, guys, you ready? Let's see if we can mix it. So I'm gonna have, I already have Ultramarine Blue on my brush. Let's add some Peril Orange. I don't know how much we need to add. And that is where I see in this split, I can see this pinky color come up, mauve-y. And then let's add some Viridian. I think there's more blue in it. Okay guys, check this out. Nope, I went too far in the blue. A little more orange. Okay. We're getting closer. You have to have just the right balance, and that's why this is called a convenience color. Okay? Because I haven't gotten it yet. Not easy. Close. I've gotten close, but I haven't quite, and it might be because I have French ultramarine and not ultramarine. That could be part of my problem. Let's lean a little more. Now look at that one. That is a lot more green. Let's go back again. Not quite. Yeah. I haven't quite gotten it down yet on the exact mix. Mine is like a little, that one's warmer. And remember, I talked to you about bending it, going cooler or warmer. Now maybe it just needs more. That is pretty close. Look over here. Look at this one right there. Not quite, maybe a little more green. That's getting there. Okay, so it has way more viridian in it than I would have guessed. But you really have to hit on the right balance to get those shadows. But you can mix it. And if you're using the 3, you can adjust them so that you have a little more of one or the other, so that color is more interesting to look at. So see how red-orange this one is over here? But over here, I leaned way over to the greens. And I can even mix some more into this, just to kind of show you. Okay. Would you have guessed that those colors went into this? It is nice because it balances it well for you and you don't have to do it. So instead of you guessing on your palette until you get it right, I'm sure if you did this enough, you would know the mix. I think right in here I was pretty close. Not quite there though. Try this one. Yeah, I just never quite got there. Maybe right in here. But it gets you the idea of, yes, thank you, Andreas. You know, left to right. Here's your green over here on this side. Here it's more red or orange, and then I have blue in the middle. So you can kind of see which way the mix is bending. And it gives you a whole rainbow of colors within that. So that's it for tonight. I just wanted to do that real quick as a fun exercise, I guess. And in the meantime, I hope you learned lots about color and had an extra bonus time. Thank you guys, those who were in my class Saturday and watched tonight. Thank you all so much. If you happen to watch the VOD or watch this later and you haven't followed me, please give me a follow. And I will talk to you all soon. Those who took my class will get a link to this on my YouTube channel. So thank you again. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.